Today's episode is brought to you by the High Noon Challenge. Tweet hashtag Team Death or hashtag Team Blev.
Drop the beat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I'm your host, The Blevins. With me, as always, is Death, and with us, slightly more frequently, is Hexagrams. What's up, everybody?
How's it going, guys?
What's up?
Thank you, Hex, for graciously joining us today. Always a pleasure and a blast.
Not even graciously joining. I just bullied my way into the show. I was like, hey. I'm doing Monday. Not this one, but the next one.
Yeah,
I'm going to do it.
I had to talk to Hex's agent, Schmexagrams, and he... but yeah, you're going big time now, man. You're like the man behind the green curtain over at for the Gosu Weeklies nowadays.
Oh, yeah, no, it's really fun running production and camera and doing play-by-play. It's my favorite thing in the world. I don't think we need ZP back at all.
I personally don't.
Is that dripping enough in sarcasm? It is
Shots fired.
exhausting.
Shots fired.
That's a newfound respect for ZP just based on all of the work that goes into production and camera work and play-by-play and everything like that. It's real easy to be an analyst. Well, not real easy. It's pretty easy to be an analyst. You're just like eye in the sky and like, oh, look at that thing. And then you can just move on. You don't have to do any of the actual button matching. It's great.
So what I gathered from that is that you...
Go ahead.
I was just going to make a stupid joke. But the moment's lost, so go ahead.
I was just going to say probably my favorite part of the weekly this week myself was just seeing myself log into Overwatch.
I did.
And log out.
I saw that,
It was pretty great.
That actually prompted me to message Death and be like, hey, you want to play? And he's like, no. And then I cried and went back to watching the weekly. So thanks for that.
I was like, I have 20 minutes between football games.
He's like, all I want to do is not play with Blevins, okay? Cover blown. But before we actually talk and go on a million tangents, because I know we're going to, we went on tangents before we even started the show. Let's do a little bit of the housekeeping. Guys, I mentioned this a while ago. I've mentioned it, I don't know, we've mentioned it in passing for a number of weeks, but we have another giveaway. And it is the High Noon Podcast Challenge. Basically, Showdown Challenge, whatever. I don't know, man. I didn't make it. Oh, wait. I did.
Sounds so much better.
It is the High Noon Showdown. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I made it up. I was going to say I didn't make it up, but I did. But basically, we're going to be giving away one of these. And for those of you in podcast land, that's a T-shirt, High Noon Podcast T-shirt. And you can check out the pinned tweet at High Noon Podcast for all the details. Go there, enter, tweet who you want to win in Season 2, me or Deathblow. Who do you think is going to have the better skill rating at the end of Season 2? I think it's going to be Deathblow. I 100% am Team Death. Like, there's just no doubt in my mind. It's not even close. Hex, do you have any horses in this race?
No. How much are those T-shirts? Pretty cool. I was thinking about buying one, actually.
Hex, if you want one, I will literally send you one. You just send me your details. You got one. The first giveaway is to you, Hex. You've won.
Awesome. See, this was exactly my entire plan. I actually got to go now. Like, I got to bail. It's been great being here. I'll send you my address, though. It'd be great.
Send me your address, your T-shirt size, and the color you want.
Background. It's so strange.
What?
So that's weird. I hear the Monday Night Football theme music in the background.
Yeah, it's going to be like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer was on jury duty. He just puts those glasses with eyes open on and just falls asleep. That's going to be Hex.
I will take a size medium for myself and a size XL for my ego.
Ah ha ha! Gotcha. You're getting
pretty
a
big
size.
Time.
You're getting a size XL for both. But that's pretty much all the housekeeping we've got. Let's move on real quick to what did we do last week. And usually, Death and I love to talk about ourselves, but we've got our valued and esteemed guest, Hexagram. So why don't we start with you? What did you do last week?
It's my favorite part of the show because I get to talk about stuff that's not Overwatch that I like. I really would just talk about like TV and movies. That's all I do outside of Overwatch. So I have like 4 things I want to mention. I'll do them quickly as possible. Harmon Quest is great. You two guys are probably huge nerds. You know of Harmon Quest. Dan Harmon plays Dungeons and Dragons. It's awesome. You should check it out because there's decent comedians on there as well. Awesome. So that was like the normal thing that people will relate to in the audience. The other 3 are just weird shit that I really liked. There's a movie called The Shallows where Blake Lively just gets stranded in water and is getting hunted by a shark. Awesome, because I hate sharks, so it scared the hell out of me. There's a movie called Imperium I watched where Harry Potter plays an FBI agent infiltrating a white power organization. Awesome. And I watched a movie just 2 nights ago that like it's called I Am Not a Serial Killer, and it starts off weird and then it goes bananas and it ends just bonkers. So you gotta watch that.
Wow.
Those are my 4 recommendations. The first one's normal, and as we go down that list, you will think lesser and lesser of me as you go through that movie catalog.
So, okay, this is a serious pitch.
I'll stop at Harmon Quest.
Here's a serious pitch. New podcast idea called Hex's Movie Club.
I would totally do it.
Okay, I'm 100% in. I think Death might be out, but I'm 100% in.
I'll tell you, that list of movies he just gave right there, despite the fact that I want to just listen to like a repeating loop of Hex's Harry Potter plot synopsis that he gave there, because I thought that might have been the funniest thing I've ever heard in a while, but I probably would stop at Harmon Quest, so I'd be a little afraid at what Hex would make me watch, but I'd give it a try.
Imperium is just so weird. Like it is, that's a real thing. It's Harry Potter as an FBI agent infiltrating a white power organization. It's pretty well done. It's really interesting. No. But like, it's just you're just looking at Daniel Radcliffe, and he's all of 5'2". Like I'm not a big guy, but I think I can take him. Like that's how small he is, and he's an FBI agent first, which you're like, what? And then you're like, oh, white power, sure. Like it just, it's great. It's great.
I added it to the list because the night of suggestion was so spot on. I literally took notes when you said you were going to tell us what you've been watching lately.
Yeah, I have great taste. Yeah, great taste.
Well, you at least did once. We'll see.
Before you ruined my dreams by saying Daniel Radcliffe, I actually thought it was Harry Potter, the character, taking on a white power group. And that would have been so much better.
That's a way better movie.
It would have been so much better. So, side note, I'm just starting I'm letting the tangents go wild here. One of my friends, and I wish I could take credit for this genius movie idea, but one of my friends by the name of Curtis A. Guy, one of the funniest guys I know, he's a super hipster. He came up with the greatest movie idea ever. It's called 1,000 Wizards versus 1,000 Equally Strong Wizards. It's just the greatest idea for a movie ever, and I want to watch nothing more than that. Like
it would never end, though, right? It's a stalemate.
Who knows? You got to tune in to find out. Who knows how it's going to end? It's literally the greatest idea, and I'm glad that I can now shed light on it to the 5 people watching. I just literally the greatest idea of all time. But oh god, I want to bring it back a little bit, because I seriously think we could go on for hours, which is the plot of our new podcast, Hex's Movie Club, coming out in 3 weeks. So I'll talk a little bit about what I did last week because it kind of segues into what did you guys do last week. So I've been grinding out season 2 as much as possible so that I can in fact give my supporters the chance to win the t-shirt. Because I will beat Deathblow. It's not even close. Even though I didn't vote for myself, and I if I were to bet money, I would bet against myself. Like Pete Rose, champion, should be in the Hall of Fame. Also, not 90s. He's before the 90s, so you don't get to turn on football.
So what you're saying is you're sliding into season 2 head first.
Yeah, exactly. I'm an all-time hits leader. Yes, I've been playing nonstop, but I've been playing with 2 patrons, Droland and Penn, and it's been great. So shout outs to those guys. We will be talking about them a little bit more in just a second. But that's basically all I've been doing is playing, watching Overwatch and playing Overwatch, which is usually not what I do all the time, but I am now because season 2 is great. Death, you got anything interesting that you've been doing?
I went camping for Labor Day weekend for the one night, which was really unfortunate. I had a good time, but they snuck in that season 2 early start date on me, and then I'm just like staring at this camping trip like there's nothing I want to do less in the world right now because I just want to go home and grind ranked for the weekend. but nonetheless, it wasn't a full weekend of camping, so I've been able to keep myself firmly ahead of the Blevins in the
Firm is
skill
a
rating
really
so far.
strong. Is a really strong
Yeah,
word.
yeah, I've always been ahead of you. That's all I know. I think you actually placed higher than me, but you'd already dropped down
I did.
to lower than what I placed by the time I
I-
finished my placement games because of camping.
I dropped
So I thought that was really
far.
interesting.
The first I got placed at 2,400, which is like okay, I can live with that. I thought that was pretty accurate for what I am. And then I just played like 7 games and didn't even get close to winning a game. And the game I just dropped 200 points like instantly. It was awful.
I was both surprised with how fast you plummeted after placing and how fast you earned it back once you started to climb back up again. So it's actually a pretty close race right now. And all joking aside, I will crush you by the end of the season. But either way, it is within just a couple hundred points at the moment. I don't know my exact rating. So
And just so you know, if there's a tie, which a tie is within 50 points, I'm making that rule up right now. If there's a tie, the tiebreaker is 1v1 Kings Row.
1v1 kicks row. Done.
Okay.
I don't even know what the 1v1 meta is, but we're both bad at McCree, so I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm definitely worse. I don't know what I'll play. But let's move on to what you guys did last week. And I'm going to slowly lead up to this one because I know for a fact Death has a bunch of iTunes reviews to read, and he definitely has them ready and prepared to read them.
I do 3 of them right now.
Oh, wow.
Start.
Okay, I did not think you actually did.
I'm
So
actually
kudos.
prepared, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so Metaticus gave us a 5-star review, said, ever since the beta of Overwatch, I had to find an Overwatch podcast. The High Noon Podcast is the best Overwatch podcast. They not only tell you the new updates and patches to the game, but they also tell you what will affect gameplay and talk about their favorite competitive teams. It doesn't stop there. The tangents are hilarious, and make sure to send the Blevins cupcake pictures on his Twitter.
Oh, God.
He loves
No,
it.
delete that one.
Matta, thank you so much. And a quick aside here in between these two. Sorry we missed him last week, or the last episode 2 weeks ago. It was, as I'm sure you noticed listening to it, was like the fullest episode I think we've ever had, with just things to talk about and content and things to go over, and it just completely slipped by. We made a change so that we never miss it again, hopefully. It's now like in the outline for the show notes, so it'll always be there. But I just wanted to apologize. And these ones are a little bit later, and then we do have another new one here. But let's see. Sataxis Dan said, awesome podcast. Few of the many Overwatch podcasts that I listen to and enjoy. Keep it up, guys. Thank you so much, buddy. Really appreciate it. And Mike S., one of our patrons here, said, Blevins and Deathblow have great chemistry and good insight into the competitive scene of Overwatch. The banter they create with each other is both informative and entertaining, tangent or otherwise. The show is balanced well among its topics. They spend the appropriate amount of time on news and related media and don't let discussions about the latest short or comic consume 45 minutes of the show. I would urge anyone who's a fan of Overwatch to give this cast a try. It's
Yeah,
high.
we just let discussions about things that aren't even remotely related to Overwatch take up 45 minutes of the show.
Like 90s baseball. And when I yell at hexagrams later on in the show for giving my Bills some flack, we let things like that
No,
take over.
that's
the show.
why. That's literally the reason why he's getting a T-shirt.
Well, that would make you what I think we call a hater. Might as well just talk about it now, quick, just since we're going crazy on the tangents. Hex, what's up, man? Why you gotta be calling out my Bills? I have no issue with the the validity of the statement, the accuracy of the metaphor, but you should leave us alone, man. We're a long-suffering community here in Buffalo.
I mentioned the glory years of the Bills when you actually were making playoffs and Super Bowls. You should be thanking me for reminding you of that time. How many years has it been since they've been in the playoffs? Is it 10 now? Is it longer?
It's way longer. We're
so
barrel of 16, and next year
for those who missed it, I made a comparison between Reunited and the mid-90s Buffalo Bills, who always made it to the Super Bowl and lost 4 straight. There's actually a really good documentary about it on ESPN, but it's like so close but so far. Yeah, you have to be really, really good to make 4 Super Bowls, but no one remembers because you lost 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Well, actually, everyone remembers because you lost 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah, exactly.
Does anyone know who won those 4 Super Bowls? I don't think so.
That's-
I mean, I don't.
New York, Dallas, and
New York,
San Francisco.
Okay.
Dallas.
Okay.
Washington
football
was one of them because I think
historians.
Doug Williams won that one. Yeah.
Okay,
It's 2 of them, the last.
Yeah. Well, okay, some people remember, but the plebes like myself
I
don't.
can't possibly forget. And that's why it was such a blow, if you're wondering why it's a big deal, Hex. Because we'll just be sitting there as Bills fans. You'll just be watching something, right? Like every Super Bowl that comes up, you just want to watch a good game, right? Your team's not in it. And then they bring it up. They slip it in. You're not ready for it. And then all of a sudden there's Scott Norwood's stupid face lining up a chip shot field goal and then just wide right, and then everybody just freaks out, and it's just constantly a reminder. And I try to escape from it with Overwatch, and you brought it back. So yeah, I just had to give you a little flack for it since it was. It felt like you were talking to me during that cast.
I was.
That's why he stared longingly into the camera and then said, "You're okay." But yes. So let's move back. Let's take a step back into the line of the show. I'm trying my best to be a moderator and also the creator of tangents. It's very, very, it tears me apart as a person and a host. So we had some new patrons, which is super great. We had and guys, I apologize profusely if I forget you. Please just berate me if I forget to read your name. I'm pretty sure I went through and got everyone, but just berate me endlessly if I forgot. So we had new patrons of Vixia, Droland, Ken M, and Aaron D. Thank you guys so much for your patronage. And we had a patron upgrade. So we Droland started out at one level and now is upgraded to another level. So Droland, shout outs, man. Been playing with me. He's been supporting us. Me and Penn. He's a great support. And actually, little side story about Droland. We found out today he's trying out for his college's Overwatch team. And I don't know if this is true or the validity of it, but apparently if he makes the team, he gets his tuition paid for.
There's no way that's true.
I thought the same thing, but I don't have a reason to believe, other than the obvious one of that's insane. But I have no reason to think that he's lying to us. It doesn't seem like that type of person that would pull the wool over our eyes. But if it's true, and even if it's not, the best of luck, man. If you need help or anything, feel free to shoot us some messages. I mean, I know you have, and
he might not have met all of it, is all I'll say. Like, it might just be like a scholarship or,
regardless of what it is.
It's just a moment where I realize, like, I'm an old man now, because as soon as something, like, kind of good happens, I'm just cynical, like, no way, that's a lie.
All I have to say is, back in my day, we'd have this point delivered already. Payload point, whatever. But yes, greatest thing. So Droland, dude, good luck, man. And the High Noon boys have your back. And I'm sure Hex... Well, actually, Hex has proven that he absolutely doesn't have your back, but he's at least not rooting against you. Actually, he might be.
I have to be unbiased. I have to be unbiased. Maybe there's another player on that team more deserving. I don't know.
He might be casting a future match, and he can't have anything on record.
They do cast the collegiate Overwatch, right? There's a league that does that. I think JD was doing it not too long ago.
Oh, really? That's...
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, to be honest.
I haven't seen it either, but I'm really interested to find out because I have a vested interest in that. But, Hex is going to show up at the university like Steve Buscemi in 30 Rock and being like, hey, fellow kids, I'm an Overwatch support player. Get this Droland guy out of here.
I already feel like that in the gaming community.
I feel like that whenever I see that stupid Overwatch family meme. I cannot stand that. Like, anytime I see Diva drawn as a gremlin, I want to burn my computer. It's just the literal worst to me specifically. So
for me, it happened like a couple months into the weeklies when we were talking about anime and whatnot, and I'm like, I saw Akira once on VHS tape. Does that count?
I don't even. You're talking to the wrong people for that reference.
You're right at home here because we both do not watch any anime. The Blevins is more into Pokemon than I am, but we do both have a little experience there to, be able to shame you on that one, but not on anime. I'm morally opposed to it. Like, I hate it. But what can you do?
My girlfriend is really into anime, so I've been liking it a little bit more. But in general.
I'm sure there's good out there. It's just too buried in all the bad stuff I've already seen and won't get a shot at this point.
Yeah. Too many fedoras to sift through to get to find someone to talk about good anime with. All Oh, okay. Let's get to the last thing about what did you guys do last week, and this actually might be the coolest part of the show. Sorry, Hex, but this moment actually like was probably the coolest, or at least most heart touching thing that has happened to me as a person on the internet. Penn tweeted us a video of his, like, I don't even know how old, 3-year-old daughter, like, saying that she loves the podcast, and then she said it's high noon, and just when you think you don't have a heart, it just melted. I melted. It was. I've got no other words to say. It was just the cutest thing ever. So yes, thank you for that. Really appreciate it. But let's move on. We've got some stuff to talk about. So go into some tournament talk. We've got a number of tournaments. I'm gonna try to breeze through them as fast as possible. And then we'll step back and talk about the ones that are noteworthy. So the ESL King of the Hill tournament. So this has been going on actually, I think it was the whole month of August, and we didn't really cover it at all because I didn't really hear or see much about it until like the finals where I just randomly caught it. So I thought it was kind of a cool tournament. I believe Joshi and That's Admirable were casting, at least when I saw it. So that was kind of cool. And currently, I'm not going to go through every week, but currently FaZe is the... Yes, FaZe is the current king. I don't know if they're going to be doing it another week. If we find out more about it, we will let you know. FaZe is currently the king, and they beat a number of decent teams. Liquid and Tempo Storm were the notable ones that I saw in their matches. So it's kind of cool. A nice King of the Hill style tournament that they do every week. I think it's just a couple of matches every week, but it's a nice little thing. And the production was pretty good. It was ESL casters were good. All was well. So moving right along, we missed it last week because we weren't here, but we had the Alienware monthly Melee playoffs where we saw FaZe, Cloud9, Sodipop, and Method make it to the Final Four, and we saw in the finals Cloud9 win against FaZe 3-2. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a weekend without the GG weeklies, although they were down for a while, but maybe Hex in a little bit can talk about the I guess, quote-unquote new weeklies. But for the GGEU 19, we saw Ninjas in Pajamas, FaZe, T-Rocks, and Poobs in the top four, with Ninjas in Pajamas beating out FaZe 3-0. And then for the GGNA 19, we saw Rise Nation, FaZe, Kongdu, the Korean team, and Tempo, and we saw Tempo beat Rise Nation 3-2 in that one. And now, moving on, we saw we talked a little bit because we got snubbed out of the Overwatch World Cup. we weren't even on the ballot, rip. But we saw the EU qualifier group stages being played out, and there was a lot. The tournament is so very confusing to me at almost every level, but I tried to gather the results that were going on. So in Group A, we saw Germany and CIS/Baltic move on. Group B, Finland, and the winner of Iceland versus Greece. It actually hadn't been played yet as of the recording. Group C, we saw France and Norway. D, Sweden and Turkey. E, Russia and Italy. And then for Group F in the EU qualifier, we saw Spain and Benelux. I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. I'm uncultured swine. We will post the link to that so you guys can try to make sense of that in some way, maybe a little bit better than me. And then last thing we wanted to talk about, and we'll talk a little about my bold picks here. We talked a little bit about it before, but the E-League tournament, probably the most exciting tournament. At least I'm the most excited for it. The E-League qualifier, or the E-League tournament is coming up. The regional finals are going to be the 25th through the 29th of September. 8 teams from both regions for the final qualifier, double elim for both regions, and then the winner of each region are going to qualify for the grand final, which is going to be on the 30th of September. And I'm pretty sure Death and I, am I going to be in? Oh no, I might be in San Francisco in San Diego for this. But if I'm not, we're going to be at Buffalo Wild Wings to watch this. But the number one EU team and the number one
That's
NA
your
team.
big run-up to it? Like, I thought you were like going to go to Atlanta or something.
God, no.
You're like, oh no, I'm going to miss this really, really important thing. We're going to go to BW3's
Honestly, we talked about going to Atlanta for it though, but just couldn't quite financially make it work.
But
I
what
would
we
go.
can
I still
financially
wanna
make
go.
work is a nice 10 wings at Buffalo Wild. No, we're not sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm not gonna.
Not
I'm
yet.
not gonna go. I know. I'm not gonna go full hex and sell out to a non-sponsor as much as I want to. But I've got my picks here. I asked Death talked about his. I wanted to see if he's changed, and I asked Hex to get some picks. So I want to know your pick to win NA, your pick to win EU, and then your pick to win the entire thing. So we'll start out, like I said, a bold pick for me. For NA, I'm picking Envious to win. For EU, I'm picking Rogue. Go Plupster. And to win it all, I'm picking Rogue. I got to root for Rogue. I talked about it before. Pluppy, aka Tavik, is my LeBron James, and I follow LeBron James no matter where he is, whether he's on Rogue, whether he's on IDDQD, whether he's on My Dong. I always want to root for the Plupster, so I'm picking Rogue. Definitely.
We're not doing phrasing. We're not doing phrasing anymore.
No, it's every week he finds a way to continue to mention.
Every
my
week
dog.
I find a way to mention My Dong. It's great.
Yeah, it's still going on. It
My
just
Dong
never
is quite
stopped.
great. No. Oh God, that lighting is harsh.
Don't
Okay.
worry about the losing call. My picks for the most part haven't changed. Last week or the last episode, we talked about kind of the team in our heart that we were going to root for, and I think I said Cloud9 back then.
Mm-hmm.
I think I want to change it though. You know,
Okay.
I really liked what Tempo Storm did this past weekend. I loved their style of play. I loved how when they picked their lineups, they chose what they were best at, and they said, you're not going to dictate my style of play and my character choices unless you can actually force me off of what I want to be doing. And I really like that, and I think when we get to a LAN environment where so we've seen a lot of these top teams not quite able to stack up, and teams that maybe we didn't expect to do really well do a little bit better because of the difference in the environment and how that all plays out. So I think there's an outside chance that they're possibly a better LAN team than they are an online team, and so that's the team I'm going to go with in my heart. But I still have the same finals as you for the teams I think will do it, except I have the other winner. I have Envy beating Rogue.
Are you sure Tempo even qualified for this? Because they weren't even a team.
I believe they did in the
They
last.
were NG Red at the time, and I think they qualified.
And they did qualify before then. I mean, like I'm very good friends with their manager, and I should know that, but I just, for some reason, do not. That's a bold strategy because Tempo Storm last night, as you mentioned, I think if that's not a too far outside the box pick. If they start strong, I feel that that's a team that could get, like, if they start rolling, just watch out. But if they get crushed like early on, it's like they're not coming back from it. That's how I feel about that roster right now. Here's the problem with your picks, Blav, is that even if you're right, no one cares. Like, no one cares if you pick like the two best teams. Like, no one's gonna remember that. You got to go a little outside the box. Like, oh, Envy and Rogue. Wow, what great foresight.
Exactly.
Yeah, my picks for North America. I was trying to think about this. I have not Envy for sure. It's not Envy as my pick because it's just more interesting. I really wanted to take Team Liquid. I've been on the Team Liquid bandwagon just forever, but I haven't seen them lately, mostly because they don't want to play until they get to E-League. They don't want to show anything that they're working on. I want to hedge my bets a little bit because I always had Fnatic to be the one that upset Envy, and I think Fnatic or Liquid could do it. If I'm really pressed for it, I think it would be amazing. And you talk about LAN experience. Those guys are all Quake Pro champions, like most of Liquid is, and they have Overwatch talent on that team. And since I've been pushing Liquid so hard for like the last month, I even did so on the thing that we skipped over, which I thought was the thing that melted your heart on the internet when I was on Kevin Naki's show.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to.
Yeah.
God,
Fine. It was no big deal. Just I was on the radio talking to Kevin Naki.
I love Kevin Naki too. Oh God.
He was actually going to cast a weekly with us on Sunday, but he had other things come up, so it was going to be me and Kevin. Unfortunately, maybe we can get that going in the future because Kevin is. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about him. He's phenomenal. He's infectious to talk to. Like, you think you love Overwatch? Talk to Kevin. You're just gonna be like, this guy loves Overwatch. But I was pushing Liquid on that program as well, and so I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stick by Liquid. I think to upset some people. I think Liquid and Fnatic both have chances to beat Envy. I still like Envy a lot. I really like the Liquid roster, especially if Rafa is gonna be there with them as well. As far as EU, I was casting earlier today, and before I casted that, I was looking at this sheet. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go outside the box, and I'm going to say Reunited gets through EU. That's going to be my pick. And then I casted another match with Reunited today, and they broke my heart again. They lost to Misfits 3-1 in a best of 5, and they had moments where they looked really good and moments where they looked really bad. So I guess Rogue would be the heavy favorites there, because what else? You have Rogue, you have Misfits, Reunited, Dignitas is having all sorts of problems. That's pretty much it in Europe right now, isn't it? Yeah, I'm okay. So I'll be brief about this. We have a lot of other tournaments to talk about. I'm going to go Liquid for North America, Reunited for EU. Winner is Liquid.
That is a bold
That is definitely
strategy.
bold. And I had two things to say. One is I was totally wrong, and Tempo Storm is not qualified for E-League,
Yeah.
so my bad on that.
Well, that was an even bolder pick.
They're forfeiting. We're going to see how it works out for us.
I thought there was another team that qualified with NRG, but that was Method, not Tempo Storm. I thought they were under Tempo Storm for that tournament first, but I was definitely mistaken there. That's what happens when you take a break for a week and fall out of things, I suppose.
And when teams just change their names 1,000 times, it's all right.
Oh God, it's just been brutal. Like, what's Complexity called now? Their Complexity. There were 3 different. They were Team Solo Mid. They were.
GSM.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much.
Yeah, a lot of roster changes recently, but I'm trying to think here. Is there anything else coming up here, Hex? Though, other than the E-League in the horizon?
iBuyPower is this weekend. I don't think teams have been announced yet, though. It's supposed to be a guaranteed 5K prize pool that's going to run counter to the weeklies, but we're still going to run weeklies. I actually checked beforehand because I'm like, I love the weeklies, but I'm like, I'll watch football Sunday if we're not. We are going to do GG weeklies Saturday and Sunday. In ZP, we'll be back, I've been told. So I will not have to do production, which will be wonderful. Nice. And hopefully, I don't know if you guys watched a couple weeks ago, but we had Uber shouts in too, and we were in kind of a rotation, that was phenomenal. He was great. Mitch. I thought it went really well. I loved working with him. So hopefully we get a rotation on just to give some people a break here and there too, but also just new blood and new perspectives was awesome. Hopefully, ideally it would be Uber again. He was phenomenal.
I will say the combination in theory of you, ZP, and Kevin Naki just sounds like the greatest possible thing ever. And that was the second thing I was going to say is we're both big Kevin Naki fans.
Yeah.
So feel free to tell him how great it is to come onto our podcast and hang out with us for an hour. I'm doing it. Just feel free to drop that in casually in the conversation with him next time.
Man, I push you guys every chance I get. I give you the shout outs on the streams today. I did mention you a couple times, so hopefully you get some more viewers who are maybe watching the Lenovo Cup earlier, because I was solo casting, so I was just like, no one's going to shut me up. I can say whatever I want. I'm like, I'm going to be on a podcast.
Is anyone ever going to shut you up, though? Like, is there someone in your ear?
Apparently not.
I would literally just turn our show over for a full hour to you if you wanted us to just not talk at any given time.
Well, maybe one day I'll get Kevin and we'll just take over the show for a week. That's what we'll do.
As long as one or both of you tape on a beard, we need at least one beard on the show, or else it will die.
Sure ain't gonna be me, and it would have to be taped on. This boyish look is never going away.
I don't know, man. There were a lot of people in chat that were yesterday. I don't know what it was, man. People were all over you in the chat yesterday.
It was the high definition camera because it's not going through Skype. You got to see the real me, which apparently is, I guess, okay. So that felt all right. That was nice. I didn't get to read all the chat, but it was. I guess if you want Twitch chat to enjoy you, go HD. I guess I don't know. Luckily, I shaved before the broadcast because I was rocking this grossness. Yeah,
because going HD could. Yes, that actually was a question that was tweeted at us for you from Gigi Harsha. Said, how did Hex become such a fashion icon? And I think he kind of just turned on the HD camera. There we go.
Yeah, if you guys are watching the live stream right now, we will see that I'm not a fashion icon. I'm wearing the dumbest T-shirt in the world right now, which I casted in earlier.
But in 6 to 8 business days, you will be wearing the dumbest T-shirt ever. Yes. So
okay. So back onto kind of track. I'm going to take over the show because clearly it's off the rocker. So those are my picks. I think E-League overall, I think, is just going to be great and good for Overwatch. I think overall viewership numbers are somewhat down. I think maybe it's a little there is a notion that perhaps there's too much Overwatch. That every day of the week you can turn on a tournament. Some of the players get fatigued. There's too many tournaments to play in, so that kind of dilutes the pool. But I think with E-League bringing everything together, hopefully all the numbers are there so they can do it like a second season too. Because I think it's good to have league-style play and consistent kind of tournaments like that. I mean, as much as I love the Alienware Monthly Melee and the Gosu Weeklies and things like that, I do love, but I think E-League is going to be a big barometer of where is Overwatch off to next.
Yeah, August was kind of like smothering a little bit from the perspective of somebody that tries to watch every last tournament that we can talk about it on the show. It was exhausting. August was. So, and it's part of the reason we took a week off, not because we were tired, but just because looking at the schedule as we moved into September, everything just opened up, just wide open. And then we kind of got surprised with the Alienware. We didn't see that one on the calendar when we were looking at things coming up. But
no, there's a reason for that. It's because I threw it together 2 days before it happened. That's exactly why it wasn't on the calendar. We had dates in mind and stuff like that. I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. ZP was in London. He was super busy. He usually does the organization. And a couple of days before, he's like, hey, just grab some teams. We'll do Alienware in a couple days. And I'm like, all right. So I just went to get as many teams as I could. Went through, I asked everybody. So we eventually ended up with a pretty decent pool, I thought. Alienware was super fun. And you guys brought it, like, I looked at the document. I'm like, you know what? That was like almost a week and a half ago. I barely remember it because that's just how fast esports moves. I looked at it and I'm like, did FaZe win that? I'm like, no, Cloud9 won that. Okay, that makes a little more sense now. But yeah, there is a ton of Overwatch. And as someone who loves Overwatch, it does, because there were weekends in August where I would do something for like a third party. I did a couple of Beyond the Summit Cups, and then I would have to like turn off Beyond the Summit, which I would cast. And then I'd be like, well, now I got to watch VODs for 12 hours of the stuff I missed. And we weren't even doing weeklies then too. And the weeklies are like 8-hour days on Saturday and Sunday. So there is a ton of Overwatch. Maybe it'll get streamlined sometime in the future, but everyone wants in right now. And it's just, it's mayhem. September is a little bit lighter. We'll see what October brings too. I know there's already plans for October. And then there's BlizzCon. We'll see. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah, and just like going through, even just going on Gosu and looking at like the past, upcoming, and present events, there's just so much, and like you miss one and it just gets buried. So on the one hand, yes, more Overwatch is good, but on the other hand, maybe that's not true. I don't know. I think at some point it'll level off, and I definitely like that these bigger tournaments like E-League are kind of rising to the top. I am very glad that the GG's weeklies came back. Those hold a place near and dear to our hearts.
Well, I mean, obviously mine too. I would not be here if it were not for the Gosu Gamers weeklies. Like the only reason I'm anything in Overwatch is because I put in all my time at Gosu, and they've been a wonderful platform for me. I could not thank those guys enough. And it's like I talk about Gosu as this big overarching brand. It's like 5 guys who just work their asses off for the most part and always have, or at least in the Overwatch section anyway. We get some more people in there, but yeah, I mean we kind of streamlined it a little bit. So we have an open side of the bracket, and then 8 teams based on our rankings will automatically be seated in the second half, which brings a lot more of the top teams in who may not otherwise want to do it because they don't want to slog through just teams that they're going to wreck. It's a pain to do. And then the teams that are going to get wrecked by those teams are like, well, I'm the 64th seed and I got to face Envious. Why would I even sign up? And like I always try to pitch them like, yeah, but you get to practice against Envious. And it's like, it's not really productive practice. It just really isn't if you're that far away. So I think it works better for the pros. It works better for the opens too. It's still been a very long day. I think we did 9.5 hours yesterday. Actually, I know we did because I was streaming the whole time. So I looked at my little OBS timer. It was 9.5 hours. But it's been good. And the last couple days, I got Saturday off, which was wonderful. Jorasar and Joshi took over for that one. Ninjas in Pajamas beat FaZe, not surprising, as they're kind of the founders. Maybe, I don't know, I'd have to go back and look at it, but they run triple support, triple tank, and that is the new thing-ish. And it does not surprise me that it's Ninjas in Pajamas. I always mention that they were SG1, and SG1 was always like Fraggy and Himsy, just both on tanks, just both making sick plays. That's how they became really good. And so the fact that they're both on tanks and making sick plays does not surprise me. Now adding in the Ana into it, and also using that comp to beat FaZe does not surprise me. FaZe disdains that composition.
Yeah, I remember I think it might have been like either the first week that they became Ninjas in Pajamas or maybe the week after, I don't remember. I saw Himsy on, I think it was Hollywood as Roadhog, just getting these insane hooks. And I was just like, how is this? Is he cheating? Like, how can it doesn't even make sense. Like, I feel like he is the Roadhog I play against every single time in my competitive matches because I feel like they're just hooking me across the map behind like 5 walls. And he's actually doing it. I can see how he does it. It's just, it was absolutely insane.
Just way back, just months ago, I think it was the second month of beta, I woke up at 4 a.m. on a Saturday to do a Russian tournament with ZP, because this is when we're like, just do everything. Anyone asks us to do, we're doing everything. Doesn't matter. So set my alarm for 4 a.m. on a Saturday morning. We get up and do this Russian tournament. It's called like goodgame.ru, and it's like 8 European teams that we kind of knew, but the scene was still evolving. And we watched SG1, and the meta was pretty stable at that point in time. It was like the Glorious Four, Fantastic Four, as you guys call it. And then SG1 came out, and it was like the first Roadhog we'd ever seen. And I think it was the first time they'd even played it, because between matches, and it was on Hollywood, and it was Himsy on Hollywood, which is why it's just still stuck in my mind that you bring it up. It was between matches. Himsy on Hollywood busted out of Roadhog, had a really good game, bought a legendary skin that has been on Roadhog. It's been on Roadhog ever since. I swear to God, that's a true story. I don't think there's a VOD of it, because it was like this Russian tournament, but that's when we first saw them, and it was just all these European teams just beating each other up. No clear favorite, but that's when I first saw SG1 run the Roadhog, and it was Himsy, bought the skin like after he had one good game, and he's been doing it ever since, like way back when.
He did like what every like solo queuer loves. It's like they have that one good game as Hanzo, and then they immediately buy the wolf skin, and then never stop playing, and they're the worst thing ever. This is almost like that. No, it's like, oh man, no, that is a really awesome story. But back actually to the triple tank, triple support. I've got to say, I tried. One of my teammates in a solo queue. It wasn't solo queue. I think it was it was either double or triple queue. We wanted to try that comp, and I've got to say that comp is not for the amateurs among us. It is a very skill-intensive comp. It is you need everyone firing on all cylinders. You need people to know what they're supposed to do. It is not just let's just do triple tank, triple support. I saw Ninjas in Pajamas play that. Let's just go do this, guys. Yeah. It's not
quite.
Yeah, it's not quite the just have Anna nano boost the Reinhardt and go in and everyone follow him. It is no.
The Anna has to play really well though, and it's really, I think it's all about Anna's bionic grenade. Like that's your real thing. Like the Q is fine, that's great, and you should be able to snowball that from an Anna ult should lead to a Reinhardt ult ideally, but it's really the bionic grenade to shut down Zenyatta, because Zenyatta's been so strong. I saw a cool thing today in the Lenovo that I casted, which instead of one of the tanks maybe. You throw in a Hanzo, because I've always talked about that being the most unstoppable combo, Graviton into Dragon, or Space Dragon. And the only thing that stops it is a Transcendence. That's the only thing at all. And so if you see that they've used it, you can bust it out and just wipe a team. Or, you know what, they were running, and they ran the Hanzo in that mix just so they'd Graviton, Bionic, Dragon. That's it. There was 0 counters to that. Absolutely 0. I mean, it's a 3-piece combo, but you can't do anything about it. That's it. You're dead. If you're in that Graviton, you're dead.
Yeah, that's interesting. And, we talked about, some of this goes way back. We talked about these like really niche comps that are like, you need to have this piece, and this piece. It's almost like, shout outs to all the Magic players out there. It's almost like the combo deck that you're building where it's like each piece on its own, not really doing too much. I mean, granted, you can do good things with Hanzo and Anna and whatnot, but it's when all 3 pieces come together and go off, so to speak, you really start to see some incredible stuff. And I think we're getting to the point where we're seeing these teams actually start to experiment and brew with these combo strategies, and everyone's like, oh yeah, let's just stack all our alts in quick match. But when you have professionals who are practicing it and know when to do it and have the timing right and the coordination right, it actually is like, whoa, this is really awesome.
It's the first new hero, right? Since release. I mean, Genji and Mei came out, but they came out together and it was in beta. So they did get thrown into the meta at the same time. So when they got figured out, then the meta did get a little stale. So then it's throwing Anna in, and then or Ana, whatever. then teams are starting to figure out like, oh, how are we going to play with this new piece? How do you work with it? And so you're kind of seeing that develop. Now, I hope it doesn't develop into like, oh, this is it, we figured it out, what's next? I hope that it doesn't become triple versus triple all the time, because Sleep Dart is also really great against an Ana boosted Reinhardt. But we're seeing some kind of answers to it. But that's also like, just bring it back to the GG point. Gosu Gamers North America yesterday, that's how Tempo won. They ran triple tank, triple support. They tried to get off it on King of the Hill a couple times, and Rise Nation brought it back a little bit against them. Rise Nation came into it with a 1-game advantage. They did take a King of the Hill off them, and then Tempo's like, "What are we doing? Let's just go back to triple tank, triple support." That's what got us there, and then they were able to pull that one out too. So they looked like they were having a grand old time. Mangachu on Roadhog was just hitting every single hook and just crushing people. But B Dropped is the hero of that composition, because his Ana play is absolutely on point, and we haven't really seen a perfect answer to it yet. A lot of it, I think it's almost kind of a bad composition to play against. I can see why teams don't like playing against it, because one of the answers to a non-boosted Reinhardt is Sleep Darts, maybe Flashbang, maybe a hook. It just slows him down a little bit, but you're not going to kill him. He's not going to die. That's not going to happen. The only other option, and this is why teams don't like playing against it, and I get it just as a gaming perspective, is Run Away. And Run Away as a counterplay never feels good.
Yeah, not in an area control game.
Yeah, and it's how do I counter this sniper? Don't be there. It's like, well, that sucks. There's got to be a better answer to that. So I think teams will figure it out a little bit. A little bit of triple DPS worked against it yesterday. I think the very pedestrian approach to it is like, just run a Reaper. That's what everyone says. I've been trying to figure out like, why aren't you guys just running this? Or like, it doesn't exactly work that way, because Reaper is still close range and you're still going to end up dying to a lot of these triple tanks. But running a Tracer seems to work out really well. Tracer and McCree and Genji, I think, are 3 DPS that you can all control different spaces and areas. You don't want to be grouped up against the triple tank, and tanks don't do well against Tracer. I don't know why people still have yet to realize this. Yes, Hook can screw with it, but if anyone can dodge a Hook, it should be Tracer. Yeah. So Tracer can get behind, and then she screws with the Reinhardt as well. She's decent against Zarya because she can engage and then be like, I'll be right back when that shield's gone. So running a Tracer and McCree, just keep your distance. I guess that's why Reaper is not just the end-all, be-all of it. And then, of course, you have to run a Zenyatta against that comp.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. Like, I talked about Ana a while ago, like when she first came out, and I'm like, she seems all right. She seems decent. I'm like, I think the thing, like, everyone at first was like, okay, you just nano boost a Reinhardt and go in. And yes, that is quite good.
Yes.
But it was my initial thoughts were like, I think the real, and I mean, we talked a little bit about the grenade at the time, and I'm like, okay, that's good. It does counter whatnot, but I kind of missed it a little bit. I was like, I think that perfectly timed sleep darts are really going to do it. We've seen that a little bit.
On a team with 100% good comms, which
exactly.
all high level teams should have, in theory.
You'd hope so.
Anyway.
But yeah, I imagine, although, I don't know, we never really saw an end to the, we saw an end to it, but we never really saw a good counter to the old, what was it, Zenji combo, right? With the double orb comps that just kind of had to get nerfed.
Yeah, just had to get nerfed out of existence. They had to nerf Symmetra and Zenyatta to get people to stop playing it. I guess one hero limit, but even one hero limit, it would still be kind of brutal if those heroes still had the stats they had.
Yeah. So.
But we've seen Blizzard make changes to things. I think the alt charge of Ana is going to be drastically decreased next time, because it's just that you're seeing teams just wait on it. Like, we're just not even going to go in because she's going to hit like 3 darts. Or if you're not going to expose yourself to damage, you'll have to shoot our tank at some point, and then we're just going to pump up that alt by healing Roadhog. So the alt charge on Ana will be changed. That is my first guess on how they're going to try to address it. So. I don't know. It's way too early to say, like, oh, God, this is just another one of those situations, right? I did have that fear come out last night of like, oh, God, I really hope the only counter to this isn't play that and better, because that is a terrible state for the game to be in. And it has been in a healthier state for a while now that we've made adjustments to one hero limits and kind of things like that. So there is variation. It's not as widely varied as I think Blizzard would want. I think all the changes they're making to heroes are to get, like, you should be able to grab 6 heroes, and if you play them right together, you can beat any other 6 heroes. I think that is the dream design goal for this game.
I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah, that's like the dream. It's difficult to do, but I think that's where has to be your goal in balance wise anyway. So I don't know, maybe Farah has a place in this too. We saw some Farah last night, not necessarily against triple tank, but you can pump in the damage, although it's not like the finishing damage that you want from McCree because then you don't want to just feed them ults. So there's gonna be an answer, I hope, that is not just like, yeah, just run triple, but you just gotta run it a little better, because that's back in the days of double orb where it's like this game's gonna die if they don't do something about it. Because there was no, seriously, there was like 2 weeks where it's like, what do you see on the defense there, ZP? Well, they're running 2 Genjis and 2 Zenyatas, a Symmetra, and like, oh, who's their 6th? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. So, so I hope it doesn't get to that stage. I don't think it will, because they've been pretty aggressive as far as patching stuff out that's weird. And I also think it's way too early for that kind of talk. But right now, triple tank, triple support looks like it's going to be a thorn in a lot of teams' side, and you better be able to at least run it. It doesn't have to be your main comp, but you better have some practice on it.
Yeah, it's. I definitely agree. It's too early to make that call yet. So people on Reddit are probably have been complaining about it for weeks.
I mean, just in a brief note, and then I do want to talk about some of the World Cup stuff, maybe a little bit. But Kongdu, the Korean team, this is the second week in a row that a Korean team has shown up at the North America Weeklies. First, it was Luxury Watch, and God, it seems like it's forever ago. I think they won it, didn't they? Yeah, they did. Yeah, an awesome guy on his Winston, is redefining how to play Winston and just kind of playing the engage and disengage game. And I bring it up because I think just disengaging properly from a triple tank combination is a way to beat triple tank if you can disengage properly. Now, easier said than done, of course, especially with Lucio's speed burst being a little bit nerfed, but we've seen that if you can just know exactly when to disengage and you're not going to bleed at all, then you can destroy pretty much any team. Although that has its limitations as well. So of course, Kongdu did not win. So there are different styles coming into play. I think a lot of the problem with some of the metas getting stale is that styles get stale as well. Of like, not only are the same heroes being played, but everyone's playing them exactly the same. And I was talking to some of the pros, and they're like, well, look at the Koreans, how they play McCree. It's completely different to how the Westerners play McCree. They're not going for the flashbang roll. They're sitting back, and they're just poking away and poking away. And if you try to get near them, they just back away, and then they poke away and poke away. So there's definitely different ways to play the exact same heroes that I think we're getting locked into. Just, this is how you play McCree. This is how you play Reaper. So there's different styles. I think actually, if you want to look just briefly at like Western, how you can play a different hero, different styles, look at like the top 5 Reinhardts, and I could probably identify which one is which if you took the name tag off it just by watching them play, because they all have a pretty different style in how they like to play.
All right, well, the next time you come on, we will have that challenge ready for it.
I was totally bluffing. Don't do that. No, but there is a difference between maybe a chronic and a reinforced play similarly, whereas Winghaven now plays maybe a little more conservatively than he used to, because he used to get in trouble for playing aggressively. But different teams like a different style of tank. You know what I mean? Like there is a style within similar compositions. You can tell this is a person who's on the. I've made my points. I'll move on.
I 100% agree, and we've even talked about this before with the introduction of more foreign teams, I guess foreign being non-NA, non-EU. We talked about this, again, to reference Magic, because that's our background. You see Japanese and Chinese players playing completely different decks than what we see in NA most of the time, and it's like, these decks don't even make sense here, but they play them well, and then they bring something. Maybe Adal doesn't stick in NA, but they win a Grand Prix in Tokyo, and then all of a sudden everyone in NA is playing it. So it's definitely interesting that we're now starting to see that. Like you mentioned, the more I wouldn't say passive, but the strategically backing off strategy that the Koreans have been implementing. And one note about Kongdu, we mentioned that they didn't win, but they were like asleep the last 2 rounds, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, I totally, now that we're like not in the Ghost of Gamers NA, like they were playing very difficultly. Like, and it was probably 11 a.m. or something there. And also, like, apparently whenever the lobby was made, it went on to an East Coast server, which made their ping like even that much worse. So they were like at 180 to 200 ping, which is unplayable. playable. I don't like playing at 60. So like generally when you're doing across servers, you're at 120, which is somewhat playable. But they had some players who were definitely at 180 to 200, and then it was also getting very late, and it really did show in their play. It was a different team when we did go back to them after going to different brackets and whatnot. It really showed. They were going through the motions entirely. They did wake up a little bit here and there, but especially their Winston play, it just was like the most predictable Winston play ever. He had been playing great all night, so it was clearly a matter of fatigue. Now, we don't give teams excuses. Like, you signed up, you knew it was going to happen, but that is something to take into account.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the point of the show where I would love to say, well, we're going to see them play at the Overwatch World Cup, but really we just have some random smattering of who knows what for the Overwatch World Cup, because that's what the Overwatch World Cup is. That's a nice productive segue into the Overwatch World Cup. Hex, do you want to get on your soapbox for the Overwatch World Cup for a minute?
I'm of mixed feelings about it. Like, I don't think it's really the greatest thing to put at BlizzCon if you want to demonstrate the game at its highest levels. I think doing something like E-League and even like, I don't know, just make sure everyone on their World Cup team is a pro would be a great thing to do. I think there's a lot of just kind of different areas to do things. But that said, this is what Blizzard's giving us, right? So what is the good about it is that it might expose more people to Overwatch, which I think is a good thing. So maybe your favorite streamer is a multi-gamer and they play Overwatch once in a while, but now they're on Team France, and you're going to tune in and you're going to watch Overwatch played competitively. And Team France does have like 3 pros on the team, so you might see some good play there. But it's not necessarily equal in that matter. So, like, you've got teams. There's 2 teams that are – one of the 2 is going to win it, and it's not even going to be close. It's either going to be Sweden or Finland.
Yeah.
And it's because both of those rosters are all full of high-level TF2 professionals. Every single one of them. You can make a team of 6, and they've all played at, top 5 in region teams. That's just – I mean, just go look at both the rosters, whatever. Germany is close as well. Germany might have a chance, but – when you look at a team like France that has like 3 really good players, and then like, not to disparage AlphaCast, I've worked with him before, but he's not a professional player. He's a personality in France, and so the same thing goes for like Spain and Russia. There's a couple others where there's like, wow, that roster's like this guy and this guy and this guy, and then who? And you can't play 6v6 against Finland or Sweden when you have 2 who's on your team. Yeah. You can't do that. That's not fair.
But we wanted to be those who's. That's why we're fit.
No, I would totally. I get that, but that's what they should have done, though, right? It's like we're going to do kind of it's like a golf pro-am, right? There's going to be a pro and an amateur. We're going to do 3 pros, and we're going to vote for the best pros, and that's going to be half of your voting. And we're going to do the 3 personalities, and that's going to be the other half of your team. So across the board, every team would have 3 pros and 3 personalities. Then you get the interest from the personality side, who have these giant streams and whatnot, and then you have the pro side. And it'd be interesting to watch, like, well, what are the pros going to play? Are these the carry heroes that you're going to put on here? And like, what are the amateurs going to play? But instead, you have Sweden and Finland, who are Overwatch all-star teams, and then you've got teams that have like 1 good Overwatch player and 5 people who, half the time are playing Hearthstone. Like, it's just not fair. It's not an equal playing field. And as someone like who likes sports, that's why I like the NFL as much as I do. It generally seems pretty equal. Everyone had the same chance. You worked with the same resources. Everyone had a shot. It was an equal playing field. This doesn't feel equal, but I hope it brings in more exposure and viewers to Overwatch. That's my rant. That's my soapbox.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that the tournament has an identity crisis, kind of like you said, not to reiterate too much, but it is not an esports tournament by, I think, almost any stretch of the word. But it's also not like a silly, wacky, goofy, just for fun tournament. It's like kind of a weird, like awkward mesh of both. Right. That's what it feels like. Like, I think the Magic the Gathering Invitational used to do it well. It was like they had some pro players, some personalities. I mean, it was a single person format, so it wasn't like different teams that were unfair, but it was like a smattering of like half competitive formats, half like weird made up just for this tournament formats. So it was a pretty fun tournament. There were good players, and there were I guess more like personality or non like tournament level players. And sometimes, I mean, it was not always the case that the tournament player won, because the tournament player is very good at this format, and this format, but the like wacky like flavor draft where you can only pick cards that make sense in the world that you created draft, the pro player is not necessarily that good at that. So the creative or streamer type player has a chance to win. I think they had a really good chance to do that, and they kind of fumbled with it. And the last thing I'll say,
well, I just wanted to go ahead though.
The last thing I wanted to say is that it seems a little bit weird because like the MO of Overwatch for the entire time has been like, this is going to be our competitive game, or not our only competitive game, but we're like looking at this through the lens of esports. We want this to be a competitive game. We want to promote the esports, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like everything about Overwatch since the beginning has been like that, and then everyone's waiting for like, okay, we're going to see the Overwatch World Championships. It's going to be great for BlizzCon. Like, we've been super pumped for months and months. Like, what's going to be at BlizzCon? And they're like, happy birthday. Here's a weird, like, kind of a weird gift that your aunt got you at the last minute, and I think you kind of like Overwatch, right? So we got this at the Dollar Tree. It says Overwatch on it. You guys like it? Here you go.
Yeah.
And you're just like, thanks, Aunt Marie. This is great.
That's exactly what it feels like. Just a cheap imitation of what they wanted it to be.
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna want to drive this point home because I feel like we could probably end this conversation after I read these two rosters. This is Team Sweden: IDDQD, Chips Hyen, Coco, Zave, Tavik, Zebosai. That's everyone on Sweden. This is France's roster: Dagoon, Nox, Crew, AlphaCast, Mikolo, Kitty Cathy.
And also Harry Potter fighting a white supremacist group.
He's on Team Alabama.
Yeah, I think that oh man, that sums it up pretty nicely. But
I don't know who Mikolo and Kitty Cathy are. I'm not trying to disparage them, nor am I disparaging AlphaCast. He's probably a good player, but he is not Nox, Dagoon, and Crew. That's for sure.
And he's no plupster. I really want, so I don't know if I talked about this on any of the times that you've been on, Hex, but my dream has been to have the account that once was Pluppy, so Tavik's old alternative account. I want that account to show up in a tournament, and then on some like mystery team, and then reveal at the end that it was ZP playing it the entire time while casting. That is my dream.
Very possible.
Like, reveal the mask off at the end of the time and reveal that he was on the team the whole time. But yeah, just.
It's weird, but I'm trying to be the silver lining of like, yeah, hopefully that people who like AlphaCast and Kitty Cathy tune in and they're like, oh, this looks like a great game. Maybe I will watch the other players on this team. Maybe I'll watch their streams. Maybe I'll watch these tournaments. So there could be some good out of it. But I think most of the response in the competitive and the pro community is like, why? Well, what is this? It's not even just anger or disparagement. It's just confusion, really. Mm-hmm. It's just what?
Yeah, it really was, and it really is. But my hopes are that I'm going to just be able to barge onto the stage and just start playing because I'm going to be there. So I'm going to try to get as much camera time as possible. And I think
wearing your High Noon Podcast T-shirt.
No, I'm gonna. Yes, I am. 100%. But I don't know. We kind of jumped around. I didn't even play the sound clip. I'm a horrible host. But I think I don't know. Do we have anything else that we want to talk about? We talked about a lot of stuff, kind of here and there. Death, you got anything?
Oh, we do have one question from a patron we didn't get to.
Yes.
Psych wants to know, Hex, which Overwatch hero would you take on a deserted island? Like, you and one Overwatch hero on a deserted island. Who do you pick?
I already know you're in. You probably do. I've made no secrets about my Overwatch affiliations. I imagine this is a person without any of their weaponry or technology or something that could not help me escape, just like the person themselves.
Yeah, you can't
get off the island, no matter what they've got.
Well, I mean, like, the heterosexual male in me would say that I would like a female on this desert island with me. And I would also like that female to be useful because I'm not. So, yeah, Zarya. I would totally take Zarya to a desert island. She could crack trees over her thighs. And, yeah, I would totally want Zarya in a desert island. I wonder, actually, what color her natural hair is, too, because I imagine we're not going to have dye, so I'll be able to see it grow out from the roots. Maybe it's just pink all the way down. I don't know. Like, we'll see. See, when it grows out, is that just like black Russian hair or whatever? But yeah, I love Zarya. So this is a surprise to no one who's watching me cast anything at all. But beyond that, she's useful. She's just strong. If there's a bear on this island, she could fight it. There's a T-shirt of Zarya fighting a bear, which I have to buy just now that I reminded myself. It's on Amazon. They're selling it, so totally gonna get that. This is elementary. It's not even my opinion. That's the right answer to this question.
Yeah, Hex is over here like wondering what our grandchildren are gonna look like.
I told him I'm like I'm pretty sure he's gonna pick Zarya, but I really do want to ask him. And he goes, "There's just something so comforting about being the little spoon." I think was his reaction, and probably followed.
I'm a little guy. I'm going to be the little spoon my whole life. So I've accepted it. And yeah, like Zarya would be definitely useful. I don't know. What's your guys' answers? Wait, hold on. Let me rephrase. What's your guys' wrong answers?
Death, you want to take this one?
Oh, no, you go first because I haven't thought about it at all.
Neither have I. But let's see. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to be on a deserted island. I'm probably going to die because I'm too lazy to do anything. So I might as well try to have as much fun and destroy as much stuff as possible on the desert island. So I got to pick Junkrat because I feel like that's just like someone who's going to be more of a psychopath than me has got to be a good thing, right? Like, just like how could he lead you to harm? And if he does, it's all going to end anyway. So what does it matter? It's like the Mad Max approach.
It'd be like a new era Gilligan. Your escape plan would be like bending a pine or like a palm tree down and using it as a slingshot to just shoot you as far into the ocean as possible and hope that you're going to get off. Yeah, that's I respect that.
So I did a little bit of thought, clearly a whole lot, but I'm going to go with Hanzo. I feel like anybody committed enough to the bow and arrow to continue to use it in the future when technologies just continue to advance has to have a lot of survival skills. Like, he's going to know what the edible plants are. He's going to be able to go shoot a deer so that we can cook it. Like, he's just going to be able to take care of that.
Shoot a deer. Zarya would just strangle it. So bare hands.
She'd fire it with that big gun. It wouldn't even. It would probably either already be cooked as soon as she shot it, or wouldn't be edible because I don't know what's coming out of that gun. It might not be FDA approved.
I like how you guys picked the reasonable answers to try to survive the longest, and I literally did the opposite.
You've given up. You've given up. Like I'm dead.
I'm going to blaze of glory.
I mean, he's not necessarily dead. Like he's either dead or home in 2 days from this deserted island.
You guys are planning 401ks on this island, whereas I'm either gone or I'm gone off this island no matter what. Oh man, I like it. I don't know. I've got to say I'm just gonna say this was probably the most fun I've had on an episode, but also the least we've actually talked about Overwatch content. Love it.
I tried to bring it back for you. You just weren't coming with me.
Nope.
Yeah, we're a week off, and I haven't watched a ton because I warned all our viewers well in advance. I'm going to watch way less once football starts, and I lived up to that very well this weekend. So it might be a little more casual, at least coming from my end of things. Whereas
I'm totally fine with that. In the past 24 hours, I've casted 12 hours of Overwatch, so I'm cool taking a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
Well, either way, we're thrilled to have had you, and thank you so much for adding to those hours of Overwatch talk. And we really appreciate having you on. And like you did this time, feel free to in the future just tell us when you'll be here.
Yeah.
And we'll.
Yeah, I mean, people think I'm joking, and I was like, "Hey, what am I doing next Monday?" I'm like, God, it's gonna be a boring day. I'm like, I'll just go on the podcast. Man, it'll be fun.
And it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it's great.
That's how Blevins told me. It wasn't like, do we want to have a guest again or anything like that, like we've done in the past. It was just, Hex will be there when we get back from our week off, so just be ready for that. All right, cool. Sounds great.
I honestly prefer it that way. Just be direct. Just like Zarya. You might actually be able to win her heart, man. You're just like, hey, Zarya, we're going.
Same goes for Kevin. You just let him know. He just tells us when he'll be here, and we'll record on a different day if we have to. It'll happen.
Okay, here's the real talk. On a scale, I don't even have a scale. How unprofessional is our show compared to being on Kevin Aki's show? If you just had to quantify it in some way.
I only did one segment with him, but we had a little bit of banter, and we try to keep it like as direct as possible, just about kind of the ESL finals is what we talked about a little bit. And I had to do all my homework. I was like on a train watching VODs, like because I was going out of town for the time. But I did get one little barb, and I was like, yeah. So I think they were running a Genji, and don't even like I don't know. I don't think we have enough time for me to start talking about Genji. And then Kevin goes, oh, the bane of my existence, and then we moved on. So, there was some quality bands.
that was the banter, whereas we're like a 98% banter and 2% content. Love it.
Hey, the first and foremost, games and podcasts are supposed to be entertaining. I think you guys have done your job.
Awesome. I really appreciate that. But we are running late. Someone that's like, I just want to hear the end of the show. Please stop talking is probably bashing their head against their door right now because they're listening to us in the car. So we will try to cut it short. Hex, do you have any last second sponsors, or not sponsors, shout outs, sellouts, anything that's coming up, anything you want to, pitch, anything?
I'm sure there's a ton, but thanks for having me on the show. You guys are awesome. You deserve all of the success that you have, all the patrons that you get and continue to get. So I will bully my way on the show every time I'm bored, which is maybe I'll just be on the show from now on because I get to talk about TV and movies and I don't get to talk about that anywhere else. But you can find me on Twitter. That's at Hexagrams. Maybe I'll talk more about movies and TV. People seem to like that a little bit. But if you want to see all the stuff I'm casting, just follow me on Twitter. It makes it a lot easier for you to know when I'm streaming, when I'm casting, at Hexagrams. I'm real easy to find. And also, like, if you tweet at me, I always respond because I have no life at all.
And he gets all your obscure references that you make to him in response.
I am pretty good at that, yeah.
Yeah, that is the best thing. Daff, any shout-outs, sellouts, etc.?
Nothing, just keep an eye out. He said we've got the iBuyPower coming up. That means we've got a very serious opportunity for Sideshow in his little beach hut external building that he casts from that we always get entertained by, and also kind of looks like John Stamos guy is very likely to be on as well.
Yes, we did reach out to kind of looks like John Stamos guy, aka the Bloodsire.
Yeah.
I meant on their cast, but yes, we did reach out to him. And
I spoiled it. I spoiled the next guest.
Show. Since the cat's out of the bag, might as well throw it out there. So tweet at him if you really want to see him on the show. I know he said he's got some busy times coming up for the next couple weeks, but hopefully before long, tweet at him, send him some pressure.
Yeah, and as always, guys, you can always check us out at highnoonpodcast.com. Tweet at us at highnoonpodcast. Huge thanks to Creation Esports and Matt Chirino for being our sponsors and helpers and friends and lovers. Okay, not lovers. One of those things isn't true. But you can find us. All the links are everywhere, especially highnoonpodcast.com. And the last thing, I'm just going to say it. It's High Noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. Threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
Okay, guys, here's the thing at the end of the show. It's really quick. Tweet at Hexagrams and at _Blevins. Tell them that you want to see Hexagrams Movie Club as the new podcast. Okay, bye.